Then we get into this fluency wheel. This thing's kind of neat. So the classic design for the fluency level is a quadrant design, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're probably familiar with a lot of different ways to assess fluency of some design. There's even criteria that are out there for assessing the delivery of materials, right? Delivery of content. This is a slightly different take, right? Instead of the beginner, intermediate, advanced, highly proficient, things like that, this one, the highest level on this is actually coaching. Right? Many individuals will actually get up to level 3, independent. So the quadrants go through, and I'll just speak to it quickly. You have beginner, level 1, level 2, apprentice, no real reference to Trump in any way. Level 3, independent, level 4, coach. So many individuals, when they go into this, they struggle with the approach because, well, don't do that again. I've done my job for 20 years. Obviously, I'm the highest level. Well, no, the actual operational definition for this have coached others, right? So if you've done this for 20 years, you might be, hopefully, at least a level 3. You're independent. You don't actually require coaching assistance anymore. The day you've actually coached others, that's when you reach level 4, right? Make sense? And as we all know, not all level 3s make really good level 4s. Just because you're highly independent and fluent at a given topic or skill doesn't mean you're necessarily good at coaching it. Another nuance on this. The classic design that's been used in manufacturing can perform the skill independently. The way that this has been updated with behavioral science is to make it more accomplishment-based criteria. It's not that I can do something, it's I have done something, right? It's more observable. I can validate that this actually occurred. One of the issues that teams have with scales like this is the subjectivity of it. Well, I could be a 3 on this, or maybe a 1 on this. It's really subjective. Now, that said, this is still a subjective rating system, but we're trying to reduce some of the subjectivity and make it more objective, okay? More observable helps with that. So, level 1 tends to be, I've studied it in some regard. I've read the book, I've watched a module on it, things like that. We typically use the example of golfing, right? Golfing as a skill. So, God help me, I've actually watched videos on golfing, right? I can see that you're all envious of that. But I've studied it in some regard. If there's a book out there, I've studied the book on golfing, right? Level 2 is I performed golfing with the assistance of a coach, right? We can define the successful criteria for level 2 as well. I personally think I'm kind of at a level 2. I have a horrible, is it a slice when it goes to the right or a hook? I always forget. Anybody? Slice. Horrible slice. When I'm at the driving range, people are scared for their cars, right? It actually goes in there and thinks a little while. I would actually like to be a level higher than that. I would like to not embarrass myself at the golf course anymore, okay? So I would put myself at a level 2. Not a level 3 yet, definitely not level 4 yet, okay? Again, this is past tense, accomplishment-based criteria. So it's not I can read the book, it's I have read the book, right? And to use an extreme example, it's not I can fly to the moon, it's I have flown to the moon. Two entirely different criteria. Yes, sir?
Why is it a wheel instead of a line?
So it was originally set up that way, and it's stuck. Right? So it's just never changed, and it's been over 60 years now, and that approach is just stuck. So honestly, I went with it. Another question that pops up is, why is the first quadrant in the upper right, not the upper left? Because that's how it was originally designed, and it's stuck. So we teach them the fluency wheel, and honestly this is another part that the leader can teach. We do this marker board style. Part of the idea with this is we want this approach to be nimble, agile, adaptable, right? So this workshop is actually never run with PowerPoint slides. Doing it like this is honestly a little strange for me. I almost always do this on a marker board. The idea is if they're in a meeting, if they're in a project discussion, and they have the question of the classic 2 C's. Do we have the capability and the capacity? Do we have people with certain skills, and are they available, right? They can draw this on the marker board on the fly. It will not be an impediment to making progress in the discussion, right? So teach it the way you want them to use it. Make sense? So we teach it marker board style. We teach them the fluency wheel. They ask a few questions about it, and then we move on to the build. Colors. Make it simple. Love the presentation this morning. Make it simple, make it understandable. What's the quote from, is it Einstein? Make it as simple as possible, but not more simple. Something like that. Then we teach the colors. Green is their current fluency level. Red, goal fluency level. Really basic, really straightforward. So highly visible, at a glance they're able to identify, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be. As is to be, current state, future state. Highly visible. Now, you might be asking, what's the red based on? Red is based on actually 2 criteria. Right? So if you look at a fluency level, you'll have blank, there's no fluency at all. Green, current fluency level. Red, goal fluency level. Goal fluency level is based on one or potentially both of 2 things. Business need first, and or personal desire. Now here's the thing. I've had a lot of debates with leaders. Should we really include personal desire? Isn't this all business need driven? No! Care about your people. What if they have a desire that doesn't line up with their current job? Wouldn't we actually want to accommodate that? Wouldn't it be great if both criteria line up? There's a business need for me to acquire facilitation or meeting facilitation skills, right? There's a business need for it. I really don't want to do it. I don't like getting in front of groups, right? What if it's actually the opposite? There's a business need for it, and I want to acquire the skill, because to get into a leadership role, I need to be more fluent with presenting to groups. That's a good alignment. To use a Star Wars reference, there's a good vergence of the Force. Any questions on this? Sir?
The only question that I have is that the sort of definition of fluency originally is, aligned with Skinner's variable rate of response, and there's a time dimension. So that's kind of implicit. But how do you, I guess, why choose that word?
Yes. So the language used in this matters a lot. Try to avoid the word assessment as much as possible when we're conducting these. And experimenting with these across a lot of teams, people don't seem resistant to using the term fluency, right? So I originally actually started using it just because of a soft skill approach, right? People were more receptive to the term fluency than anything else, right? I wasn't originally trying to align it with the Skinner's approach. Now, that said, there is a time dimension that's part of this as well. Yeah, and so the time dimension is typically for the reds, it's a 1-year horizon, right? And we'll get into and this is documented in here as well, the transition from the overall 1-year plan to the immediate 3-month plan. Now for the greens, it tends to be an operational definition relative to the skill. So I've done this a lot with IT settings, right? And if you've worked with IT folks in the past, technology changes rapidly, right? So facilitating meetings, some of those techniques, right, have been fairly static for a period of time, right? So if I've done it, if I was a level 2 5 years ago, I might still be a level 2. Whereas coding Java, right, it's a programming language. Coding Java, if I was a level 2 or a level 3 5 years ago, I'm back to level 1 now, right? If I haven't done it since then, right? So part of the operational definition is skill specific, based on the what's the term? How the skill expires over time. There's a better word for that, but I'm blanking out on it at the time. So the team actually helps define those operational definitions to identify whether or not the skill expires and what the time horizon for those are. Sir?
Do you ever have any issues with people self-identifying as level 4 as coaches simply because they think that they've coached at people but haven't really influenced behavior?
Yes. So another part of this, and it was implicit as well, this is a team-based design, right? So this workshop is done as a team, not as individuals sitting at their desk. Certainly not done as the leader sitting at his or her desk doing the assessment on the entire team. Now the reason we do this is team members work with one another, right? They're the individuals who, if you will, are most familiar with one another's fluency levels. And so there's a technique in here called respectfully challenge. And you can respectfully challenge up or down. So as we're going through this, and I'll get into it a little bit more later, respectful challenges actually do occur as part of it and are encouraged because of the, if you will, the inability of some individuals to self-identify their own fluency level. Well, we'll get into that in a couple.